'Tis the old book of heroes for you.
Saints Nation, thank you for bearing with us there. Unfortunately, right as we were about to get into game, it seems like this Blizzard server took a hit. But without further ado, we're finally about to get started here. And look who I stole off the rift. We've got Andre, we've got Frez with us here today in this, or in broadcasting for me here today is Frez. Thank you for joining me, man. How you doing?
Yo, thanks for having me. I'm really looking forward to this. It was an absolute blast last time. Hopefully, we end up seeing a more positive outcome than last time we were broadcasting this together. And honestly, I'm looking at these deck lineups, Stanners, and it's looking pretty spicy.
Absolutely. It's a little bit different, of course, than what we saw during, I think it would have been preseason or in the open division a couple weeks ago. Looking to just get into the game shortly here. Won't be too much longer. However, while we have the opportunity, let's take a look at, of course, who is actually even on our team to begin with.
Yeah, absolutely. You can see here we got Derval Nitrate Farias. He was on my team last semester as well. Dan, absolute stellar player. He's got the brain of Einstein. He's honestly really, really good at coming up with these creative plays and these weaseling his way out of tricky situations.
Absolutely. And then, of course, we've got Shadi Hanna, also known as Zedimental. You probably saw him a couple times here on the broadcast with me doing some Overwatch, freshman in the esports program. And then who's our last person here?
Yep, absolutely. And we got Simon Bodoin, also known as Gunter. I really apologize if I butchered that name, but yeah, as well, another freshman and new member of the Hearthstone fall roster for 2020. Sophomore in electromechanical engineering and technician robotics.
And one thing I do like about this Hearthstone roster is that, of course, this is a game about like building the best possible deck, but also being able to play it, your mind, get creative, and do all the knowledge-based plays. And the fact that all of our members come from different areas of study kind of just supplements the fact. I know there's a lot of teams in Saints right now that tend to be a little bit esports heavy. But like this one, we've got a businessman. We have Shadi there for esports, and we got like an engineer, robotics technician. That's sick. We've got quite the diverse lineup here for our fall roster.
Oh yeah, absolutely, and that is, as you mentioned, a little bit interesting to see because I know on my roster, 5 of our 6 players are all in esports, and then
yep,
you got the odd one out. So it's definitely cool to see a little bit of diversity here. 3 very different programs as well.
Absolutely. Now, it did scare me for a second there. I went to go hop into the game, but then nobody showed up on my list. So we do still have some hiccups here. We do have to throw it to a break in the meantime. I do apologize for that. Of course, we're trying to get this in. We're trying to do ourselves a double header, of course, with TESPA Hearthstone and then Ace Rocket League later on tonight. Should be exciting. But in regards to TESPA Hearthstone specifically, of course, this one is the Varsity division, specifically college versus college action. And with it being Swiss rounds, both these teams sitting at 1-1 currently in the season. Still early in the season, but you used to play on the Hearthstone team as well. Any have you played Michigan before, or like that?
I don't believe I've played against University of Michigan specifically, but I've unless I have before I was on the varsity roster back when I used to compete on my own in open divisions with a couple of my buddies. But yeah, I don't believe so. So I can't say that there's any like kind of like a story here with a history, but you know, any close rivalry is a rivalry at that.
Absolutely. At the very least, there are friendly opponents from across the border.
Absolutely, and as you mentioned, having the Swiss bracket for this season is going to make it a little bit interesting because everybody that will be playing against each other will be having the same record, as you mentioned, both teams being 1-1. So both of these teams here, they got some fighting to do because I'm not sure if it's as was before, but I could be mistaken. I think after you have 2 losses, you no longer qualify for playoffs. I think you need like a 5-2 record, 6-2 record, something like that. So it's both of these teams here. They're trying to fight for that playoff spot, and if they whichever team falls short tonight is going to be kind of on the last leg for the rest of the season. So this is definitely going to be a very important match.
It'd definitely be scary, but thankfully we're about to get into the game. I switch on over in a second. Sure enough, let's get into it. Of course, before we do begin, thank you to the sponsors, of course, St. Clair College, the Alumni Association, SRC, Dublin School of Business and IT, PC Outlet, and of course, Tim Hortons.
Yes, lab partner already being played out. So let's first talk about this matchup here. So we got Rogue against Mage, right? Rogue, this is your typical Galakron Rogue, with a couple of unique special cards, if you will. And it's definitely running that early game stealth package as we see here. And this is a really, really good start for St. Clair. I'll touch on that in a moment. But I also want to talk about the Mage, because the deck list here that we have from University of Michigan is a little bit of a spell mage, if you will. So they're playing a lot of cheap minions that that generate spells, as well as spell damage, and minions that discount those spells on top of that. So they're looking to just spam as many spells as they can here. St. Clair College, though, they already have that stealth minion on board. Now they have a little bit of a decision to make if they want to clear that spell damage minion or if they want to keep the stealth. And it looks like they're opting to keep the stealth there because they want to play that turn 3 curve here and draw 2 cards free the next turn.
Interesting. I know you're trying to explain to me a little bit earlier about how burst damage heavy this mage can be if it does get the opportunity to get going. Or even just leaving a tiny little minion like this guy right here. Like, it doesn't seem that powerful, but +1 spell damage, that can definitely bite you if you leave it there.
Mm-hmm. And typically in the past, 1-mana 1/3s have been really, really good minions. Usually, just a 1/3 alone for 1 mana is a pretty well statted minion, considering that it has 3 health on turn 1. It's really, really hard to remove. The fact that it also has spell damage makes it a very, very powerful card, especially in this archetype. And there's the play we were talking about, Dan. They're playing that card on turn 3, drawing 2 cards for free, which is why they opted to keep the minion stealth on turn 2 instead of attacking.
Okay. Play here, of course, they do have a couple 0 mana cards they could opt to possibly do some damage with, and might be getting started here. Sure enough.
Looks like they're just opting to remove as much damage off the board as they can, because as we talked about before, the Mage is definitely a very burst-oriented deck here, and they want to try to hold on to as much life as they can, considering Rogue doesn't actually have that much sustain.
Yeah, so St. Clair are going to be able to do a little poke, however, nothing else after that. Of course, still very early in this matchup.
I like the play that St. Clair actually opted for right there. They could have kept the stealth minion for 1 more turn and greeted for that next turn, considering that they don't have any more stealth minions in their hand. But it seems like they already know what their next few turns are. They have stuff to play on turn 4. They have a 5-drop as well. They don't actually need the card draw right now. And look at that. They got it anyways. They have another stealth minion in their hand for whenever they want to do that combo.
Interesting. Now, who in the world is this here? The Astromancer. Obviously, it's got the +1 spell damage as well, so similar to the last card we saw University of Michigan play here. But also has a death rattle effect. What does this prime fella do?
So it's actually a really, really insane fun card. There's this card back in the day. His name's Yogg Saron. Are you familiar?
I've heard of it, but I can't remember off the top of my head.
Yes. So what Yogg Saron was, he was a 10-mana minion, okay? And he was a 7/5 stat line, but that's not the part that mattered. The part that mattered was that for every spell that you cast that game, you cast a random spell targeted with random enemy or random targets, okay?
That sounds like fun.
Yeah. What this guy does, this is budget Yogg Saron, all right? So that's a 2-mana 3/2, right? With spell damage +1. That's already a pretty good card on its own, right?
Mm-hmm.
To top it off, what they just did, they shuffled a 7-mana 7/7, which is, fair stats. And the effect is cast 5 random mage spells, with random targets.
Right.
So it's basically budget Yogg Saron mixed in with a early game tempo minion.
Gotcha. And speaking of the tempo kind of being set here, it looks like St. Clair, as we're figuring out with that card, it seems to got themselves some board control. We do got some freezing coming down, probably to try and slow some of the bleeding here that St. Clair is about to dish out. And stuck with that Mana Cyclone, and then that's going to be it for now.
Yeah, and that's that combo I was talking to you about earlier. The Mana Cyclone, one of my personal favorite cards in Mage as well. Every single spell that you cast that turn, you get a new spell in your hand once you play that. So they basically just recycled all of their spells that they did this turn. They stalled out the game, stalled 7 life for themselves by freezing those 2 minions, and then they got spells back anyways.
Well, that's value if I've ever heard of it.
Yep. All for 2 mana, by the way. Yeah, 2 mana, generate a bunch of cards, and yeah, just give yourself a 2/2 while you're at it.
Interesting. Of course, those 2 heavy hitters for St. Clair are going to be frozen up, not going to be able to smack the University of Michigan in the face this time by. That could take a chance, maybe get ourselves a random spell of sorts. They're thinking about it, you can see them keep hovering it. Or just lock down the board even further. Let's see where they go from here.
Yeah, I would imagine they just want to slap down that big taunt right there. Maybe get rid of that Mana Cyclone in case University of Michigan has any way of duplicating that back to their hand, because I'm sure they don't want to deal with those. And it looks like that's exactly what they're going to do here.
Yep, some board control and 1 additional piece of damage. Looking like they're in fine position, but of course, one thing about mages is that sometimes their spells don't matter if you have a taunt in front of them. They can still smack in the face anyway.
Yes, Mage definitely does have a lot of reach built in their decks, for sure. Oh boy, here we go.
What do we got going on here? I see
All
a lot
right,
of
this
freeze.
fella. Yep, so whenever, every 3 spells that they cast, they get a free minion on board here. I'm not sure if it's within the same turn. I'm going to have to double check on that really quick. Yeah, so after you cast 3 spells in a turn, they get a free 5/5.
Okay, and it looks like even that 1 spell to summon the 2 taunt minions still counts as a minion, so they just need 1 more. Do they have something worth 1 mana? I'm sure they would, otherwise they probably would have went for this combo. But they might have gone too soon here.
That's actually miserable for St. Clair, because not only do they have to deal with that 5/5 on board, they have to somehow get rid of that 2/5 that keeps generating them. And on top of that, one of the spells that they played generated them taunt minions.
Yeah, so you can't even attack it directly to start things off. You can't just get the your weaker minions and just poke away at it. They're gonna have to find a way around it. They tried to discover a spell here.
They did.
Sure
So
enough.
what they can do here,
Go ahead.
they can Seal Fate that. So they use Seal Fate on it. Well, first they're gonna see what they get here, just like order, lull, yeah, all that jazz. So I would imagine here they're just gonna drop that because they get they see what they have. They might even generate themselves some spell damage here with that 2-drop minion if they get like Blood Mage, Thalnos or something. But they do have the removal for it, so they're probably gonna Seal Fate it. I'd imagine they're just gonna leave the 5/5 because they definitely want to get rid of the 2/5 ASAP. There it is. And what do you know? The thing that they just got is actually going to be enough to clear it.
Yep, sure enough, they'll be able to take care of that. So they eventually have to deal with this 5/5, but at least they don't have to worry about any more showing up. And let them breathe easy for at least a little bit here.
Oh yeah, St. Clair is just looking nice and cozy right now. It's going to be interesting to see what University of Michigan does to respond, because that's one of the things in that deck that really allows it to go off, and they just threw it out the window. I mean, they did get some value out of it. They ended up getting a total of 7/10 stat line for 3 mana, which is absolutely insane. But seems like St. Clair were just sitting back, relaxed, nice and cozy.
Do you think? Oh, they're looking to possibly swing here, but that's going to basically take care of that elemental the next turn when you can just poke with it, unless they can somehow heal it. Oh, that's one way to do it.
There you go. Why heal it when you can just make 2 minions of the same value after you trade it, by the way? So that's a lot of value. That card is absolutely nuts.
This is why this game continues to boggle my mind, but that definitely makes sense and was a solid play there for University of Michigan.
I believe that is also the 4th Ray of Frost that we've seen from University of Michigan. Considering that it's a twin spell means that you can cast each one twice. So
Okay.
this should be out unless I'm mistaken if they generated one off of one of the mana cyclones, but that should be it for that card. So no more 1 mana freeze a minion. That maybe that 4/5 will finally get its first attack in after 6 turns. We'll find out.
Yeah, it's been locked up pretty much this entire game so far, but it's only a matter of time before you let it loose. That other taunt minion on the side of University of Michigan, not going to be very long for this world. Sitting there with one health left. And then what can St. Clair do here to maximize their damage?
Well, it looks like they're trying to look for something here. So I'd imagine they're playing that. Yep, okay, there it is. So they're putting the stealth minion down. They're going to draw 2 cards with the Greyheart Sage here. And that is a card, Heist Baron Togwoggle. Okay, so yep, there it is right there. So they can't do anything with it this turn. But next turn, Dan, they're going to be playing that alongside a Lackey. And they're going to be getting some insane value.
Let's say, I see it says Fantastic Minion. Now, is this going to be like some, like a standard card that you could normally put into your deck, or is this going to be some, what's it, Ysera kind of stuff going on?
So it's actually, well, it's a fantastic treasure. So you can actually get one of 4 things. So you can get Crown, Chalice, Monkey, or look at the name of the other one. I'm sure we'll see it soon, but boy. Okay, remember those mage spells I was talking about, the 5 random? They just casted one of those spells, casts 10 random mage spells. So they're getting a total of 14.
And this is random targets, correct?
Yep,
Oh.
So that bit them in the butt right there. Blessing of Kings here. It's more likely to benefit St. Clair. There it is. The bees come out now. Where are they going to attack? Okay, so that's a little bit of value for University of Michigan here, but we got a lot more spells to go, Dad. Totemic Reflection, all right. It's about a 50-50 shot here. Also benefiting St. Clair. Mark of Nature coming down. Who's it going to hit? Hits the wall. Misses again. Pyroblast! Is it going to hit the face?
Okay, that's actually huge.
Okay. That's one good thing gone right so far for University of Michigan here. Plus a whole Christmas tree of secrets here. Ray of Frost coming down as well. Gonna end up targeting that minion. Another one. So it looks like they ended up generating one from the Mana Cyclone from earlier, but holy, that is a lot of spells.
Considering everything that just went on there, that was not terrible for St. Clair in the slightest. I know my heart dropped when I saw the Pyroblast come onto the screen. But that, like you said, with all of these, this Christmas tree, all these secrets here, that's going to stall us out at least a little bit now for St. Clair.
The funny part about a lot of secrets is that when you have a lot of secrets, they're not really a secret because you kind of know what to expect, judging by the fact that they have a lot of them.
Right.
So you just have to know how to play around each one optimally.
Definitely makes sense here. The Heist Baron's still in hand, hanging on to that for the time being. Okay, fair enough. Get some additional draw, but uh-oh. Drew so many cards, they ended up throwing it away.
Yeah, so there it is. The wand. That's the really good one for Rogue. Of course, I forgot the most important one. So what that's going to do for them, for 3 mana, they draw 3 cards, which is already insane. 3 mana, draw 3 is absolutely nuts. That's about 5 mana worth of value. On top of that, every card that they draw is free.
Lovely. So, draw into a big guy, and you just get to throw it out without consequence.
All right, so there's the Spellbender coming out here. So that's actually gonna kind of bite St. Clair in the butt here a little bit as they end up generating a minion for University of Michigan and buffing it instead of their own here. And now that this means that they also have to trade suboptimally here as well. So they're gonna end up clearing it fairly well here. But something that you gotta take notice here, they're at 15 life. They gotta be really careful.
That is for sure, of course, being able to just completely ignore what is on the board and just start casting spells at your face. Especially once it starts getting into Pyroblast territory, like just instantly lose from 10 or something like that. Could be scary.
Looking at the deck list, it doesn't look like University of Michigan is running Pyroblast specifically, but we've already seen them generate it once, right? There's no saying that they could generate it again, especially with all of these Discover cards that University of Michigan is running here. And oh boy, here we go.
Low-key finding the Dark Magician over there in the far right corner. Saw the purple robe and I had to laugh. But what on earth is happening here? This is completely flip-flopped for University of Michigan now. They're all in control of this board.
Yeah, so they ended up playing another one of those things, and it generated them a lot more spells, as you can see here. But one of the spells that it casted was a duplicate secret, which was Flame Ward. So now St. Clair knows for sure that one of those 2 secrets up there is Flame Ward. So now they know that they have to play around it because they literally revealed it themselves.
Right.
Because instead of casting the same secret twice, it ended up just revealing what it was and nulling itself. So looking here for their next turn here, I think if they don't draw Galakron, they're going to have to play Wand and hope that they get in. Oh boy, Dan. Are you ready for this?
I'm ready. What's happening?
It's Wand time.
Okay.
Here we go. 3 cards. So they got to hit Galakron here. Backstab's already free. Flick is good.
Galakron.
And oh my goodness! They hit the Galakron. Do me a favor. Hover that Galakron.
Absolutely.
Okay, so Galakron got nerfed. It used to cost, like all of the cards that it drew, used to cost 0. Now they cost 1, which is still insane, but the amount of combo potential, that this is going to be a big Edwin. Like, I'm expecting like 2020. Are you ready? It's going to be absolutely absurd.
I'm ready for it, and I'm ready for this mage to somehow have a way to copy it himself.
So they're trying to get as much value here. Their hand would be overdrawn if they end up playing Galakron now, so they're playing down the... oh, they got to go quick, though. Oh, boy, that's a rope. They got to go quick. Galakron time. Yep, you got to start the animations now. And Kronx is going to clear the board as well, which is why I was saying they need to get that Galakron. And... okay, let's see what happens here. It seems like that they got in all of their animations that they wanted to before the rope ended, but there's the AoE. Yep, they just want to get rid of it. They don't want any part of it. Did they get the Edwin down? I don't think they did because they played the Kronx.
Okay, just some armor coming out. Nothing too crazy here.
But now they also know that it's Flame Ward as well.
Right.
So they know the last secret, and that is a monster of a hand right there for St. Clair.
Okay, Mana Giant, of course.
Free 8-8.
Okay.
Oh boy. Wait, is that just a straight up 12-12 or is there any effects to it here?
Cannot attack heroes.
Can't attack heroes. Okay, so that's good for St. Clair. That's good. But they still have to find a way to deal with this board, and it looks like they're going to be able to because they have Flick and Eviscerate in their hand.
Okay.
We saw it go down for free last turn when they generated. That was an absolutely disgusting wand from St. Clair. Hit the two of the two best cards that they could have possibly wanted that was left in their deck.
And then like the worst.
And backstab. Like what? Just a little backstab for free as well. Why not? That was absolutely absurd. That is literally best case scenario here. But oh boy, Potion of Illusion here. They just got copies of all those minions then.
That is going to be rough here. That is some heavy taunts to have to deal with. You're in friendly minion, not opponent, so you can't try that one. Oh, that's a good call.
It's going to destroy that 9/9 and the 4/4 as well, because it's technically a copy of that minion.
Fair enough. Okay, never mind. That's not going to be a very difficult taunt wall to deal with.
So they might actually opt to ignore the 12/12 here. They could Shadow Step Flick again and play it again if they wanted to, but I feel like at this point in the game, they have, not to mention, they have the weapon as well, and the Eviscerates. They have 9 burst damage from their hand right now. So what they might opt to do here is play that Lackey that they're hovering right now, generate a spell, try to find more reach here. Fortunately, they don't quite get it, but that Potion of Illusion is absolutely nuts.
Yep.
Because now they get to do it again.
Yep, the exact same combo available if they really feel like it, and they can get rid of that 12/12.
There you go. And they Shadow Step it again. And they get to play it again. Oh, by the way, that also gets rid of the copy in their hand.
Oh, so even better.
Anywhere. So on the board, in their hand, in their deck, wherever it is, gone. Including their own deck if they were running it as well, by the way.
Okay, that's interesting. So, now, getting in the crunch time here for University of Michigan. It's going to be scary if they can try and ward off some of this damage. Let's see what they got. Split damage coming out from Firebrand.
So they're going to get a Mage spell here. Probably look for some kind of removal, some kind of burst here. Because keep in mind, they still have a lot of damage and a lot of burst potential. And St. Clair College is not healthy.
Mm-hmm. I mean, yeah, sitting at 18, but I could be turned around in an instant, absolutely.
And there's the Arcane Missiles as well. So when that dies, it's going to give them Arcane Missiles, and that's a free 3 burst, plus whatever spell damage, plus whatever other combo potential you want as well. So that's a good card, and that's also one of University of Michigan's powerhouses as well. They're also running. That's a Mage and a Rogue card, and both decks are running it.
Okay. Okay, spell, what does it give us? Minion damage?
Backstab and Vendetta are both good here. These are all good here. They're all good removal. St. Clair has to find a way to deal with that 6/6 though. If they don't get rid of it, they're going to be in big trouble here. And they might offer just the backstab and to eviscerate it, and then play a bunch of other stuff and try to get a big Edwin going, because at this point you got to try to get it down eventually. And I think that's exactly what they're doing. They're trying to see as much value as they can here. They get the Kobold Lackey. That gives them some of the burst here that they might end up burning. I think they want to get rid of that 6/6 though. I think you opts to flick it, but it looks like they're going to try to go for big Edwin play and use some of their reach that they have on the face to get rid of it and make a big minion on the board instead here. I'm not quite sure how many cards they play this turn. I'm just going to guess randomly here and go with a 14-14 Edwin. I have no idea.
No, 12-12, close enough.
Well played.
That being said, of course, still got this guy ready to spit some damage, go into the face. Do they have the answer in their hand?
Fireball will do it.
I'll do it.
There's the Fireball. Yep, discovered, of course. And that's exactly what that deck does. Discover a lot of spells. Just keep playing spells.
Definitely makes sense. A solid game there from U of Michigan. It felt like they were on the back foot for the majority of that game. But, of course, between being able to control the board slowly but surely, they discovered spells they needed to, and were eventually able to flip that around before that Edwin could take any damage off them. So
yeah, unfortunately, that Edwin coming down a little bit later than St. Clair would have liked to, but I honestly think they played that match pretty well. That being said, even though they ended up coming out short, they had a lot of really good swings in their favor, specifically that one turn generating them flick for free as well as Galakron, which is absolutely insane. But that's exactly what that Mage deck does. It just pokes you down a little bit in the early game, gets you barely in reach so that they can have that big swoosh turn. And that's exactly what happened. But luckily for St. Clair, they don't have to play against that again.
yeah, so it's off the table, and of course, you opt to see, or do they get to pick? Remind me again of how the ruling goes. Does the winner have to pick deck first, then you get to answer it, or you have to go at the same time?
It's both blind.
Both blind. Okay, so they're gonna have St. Clair are gonna have to try and see what University of Michigan are bringing up next between, I believe it was a Rogue of their own and a Paladin. Actually, oddly enough, both teams running the exact same classes here today. So might see some repeats, but we'll see what happens momentarily. Go take this very quick break. Within 2-3 minutes, we'll be back in action. Stay tuned. All right, welcome back, everybody. Finally, going in hot on this one, as we're getting started with game number 2 between the University of Michigan and St. Clair College.
So this is going to be a little bit interesting because now we get to see St. Clair pilot the Mage, and Michigan brought a rogue list of their own.
Get to see, yeah, basically how the tables have flip-flopped here for St. Clair. See how they do. Did you see you saw the deck lists of both squads prior to this, correct?
Yeah. So St. Clair College is running I want to say identical list to like the Mage list, at least for University of Michigan. They look very, very similar. There could be some differences that I'm not seeing, but they do look really, really close. That being said, the rogue lists are slightly different, so they are not running Galacron Rogue, University of Michigan, like St. Clair College was.
Okay.
Instead, they're running a lot more cheap stuff, such as the famous questing adventurers that we saw last time on stream.
Oh yes, I remember last time that guy or that card went absolutely crazy, going back and forth between each other's hands.
Yeah, they're also running the secret package as well. So University of Michigan going to get a try to get a lot of early game pressure with those secrets, a lot of value. We already see value coming out of it, getting the draw 2 there, but St. Clair going to get a little bit of value of their own here as they end up discovering right there the Astromancer Solarian.
Yeah, and of course we did get to see what University of Michigan were able to do with it. It put pressure on St. Clair at least early, but it was dealt with. But of course, as the game went on, they were able to turn it around. Questing Adventure is back, looking to grow. Already up to 3-3.
Double. Already, and oh my goodness, this is what happens when you bring the economic package for University of Michigan here. A lot of cheap stuff to play. On top of that, going second, having the coin as well. Brain freeze to top it all off. Dan, we got a turn 3/7/7.
I was really hoping for a polymorph there, but I don't know how often we see stuff like that nowadays, and that would have definitely helped here. Dealing with a little sheep compared to a 7/7 on turn 2.
It's going to be really interesting to see what St. Clair does to respond here, because they don't actually have an immediate answer for that. They only have stuff to stall, so they can Ray of Frost here and then try to get something with Mana Cyclone, but that's really inefficient with their mana because they're only going to cast it once and then have one left over, get one random spell. Whereas if they ignore it, they could be taking like up to 10 damage next turn, really.
What to do?
Like for St. Clair in this case, with University of Michigan being such cheap cards and whatnot, is trying to deck them out a possibility if they can keep the stall up, or are they not going to have anywhere near enough time to do that?
I think the play here is to play the Ray of Frost and then the Secret as well. I don't think they want to play Mana Cyclone yet because there's nothing stopping them from playing that the next turn when they end up playing Ray of Frost with another spell. And that's exactly what they're going to do here. They're going to try to take their time here, relax, breathe a little bit. They got another turn to stall it out as well. And hopefully by then they'll end up getting an answer for that big, big minion.
For sure. The University of Michigan setting up. Of course, they can't attack with that Questing Adventure, not this time by, but what will they have to support it and possibly boost it up even further?
Well, Michigan's got to be careful here because they have no idea what the secret is that St. Clair College played. And we know what it is. We know that they get a 4-cost minion when Michigan plays a spell here. So it's about a 50-50 here if they end up dropping a minion or a spell here. Who knows? Maybe they do both. But you can already see the caution that Michigan's taking here when taking this turn.
Going down.
There's the spell.
Didn't leave himself much time to do anything here, and of course, drawing animation sure taking a long time. When they find an option, St. Clair, of course, going to get their minion.
That is a beefy minion. So, obviously, they wanted to look for something that had a little more attack so they can try to get rid of that questing adventure here, but 2/6 is going to stick.
You know, the effect isn't exactly going to do anything, 'cause of course, overloaded, that's a shaman technique, right?
Yes, exactly. So I don't believe that there's any mage shaman cards in their deck that'll actually overload them. Looking at it right now, the only mage shaman card they have is Frost Whisper, which is already in their hand on the far left, but that doesn't actually overload them at all.
Gotcha.
So I'm trying to find an answer. That might be it. They might be able to discover something here and discover a spell damage minion, not a spell. Okay. So now they got some decisions to make here. See what they get from this. Okay. They get the Solarian. The Solarian here is the obvious choice because it's just objectively better than the 2-2 in the middle, and Ogre Magi isn't exactly high value for them. So they got one more turn to try to stall this out here. I wonder if they're going to drop the 1-3 on board, considering it's free. It looks like they're going to hold on to it.
Oh god, can you imagine taking half your health in one shot? I mean, I'm sure you can. You've played this long enough to know, but this is looking rough.
Questing Adventurer is not exactly a fun card to play against as Mage unless you're running Polymorph, and that's not in their list. It's not exactly the draw they wanted either here.
Yeah, no.
I think that they're going to have to go for some big play with Mana Cyclone, otherwise they just straight up lose.
Yeah, they have no polymorph, any sort of silence or anything to at least stop this, or no, is he just going to be going until he's finally taken off the field via damage?
What to do? What to do?
So, looking at it right now, they can do 3 damage AoE to the board. If they drop the card on the far left, and then they drop both spell damage minions on the right side, or actually, it appears they can only drop 1, because only one of them is going to be discounted here.
Correct, yeah, just the lab partner.
Because once they play it, whichever one they didn't play goes back up in cost. So Jandis might be their only answer here to try to find some removal here with 5 cost minions. Maybe get some taunts down, maybe get some rush minions, but this isn't looking good for St. Clair.
I wonder.
Might as well throw him out. There's no cost to him, and that's going to proc the secrets.
Yeah, so that's going to give them another 2-3 on board here. Fortunately, that's not what they were looking for. They might try to find something with the dragon for next turn here, but looks like they're going to end up trying to remove as much as they can here. They're going to get the 2 damage AoE here.
Okay.
That Questing Adventure.
Okay, so take 2. Do a little bit of damage across the board. But this
24 on board.
This is
so
going
far.
to hurt.
Yep, they're at 24 damage right now if they tap their weapon, which gives them 2 mana to play with to try to get a little bit more reach.
Yeah, this one just looking like a best case scenario here for the University of Michigan. They might not kill us off this turn, but they very well the next. Oh, they do have enough. Oh.
That is absolutely disgusting damage in 1 turn from University of Michigan, and well, that was a quick game too. St. Clair is gonna have to try to turn it around here. They're gonna have to 3-0 the Paladin on University of Michigan here, which is definitely doable, but it's gonna be difficult.
Absolute best case scenario. Just so much damage. Adventurer got all the time in the world to just build and build and build, and it didn't even feel like that late into the game. But between that, the weapon, being able to boost the weapon as well, and it was just curtains for St. Clair on that one, unfortunately for them. Yeah, so, go ahead.
Oh, I was going to say, it seems like that they almost, like, there's nothing that they could do, as the fact that University of Michigan had everything that they needed to make sure that they won the game. There wasn't actually, there's not many things in their deck that they can actually do to respond to that, other than generating a random polymorph off of the Mana Cyclone, which they didn't seem like they had a good opportunity to, because the most that they could have ever gotten for the Mana Cyclone in 1 turn would have been 1 spell. And unfortunately for them, that's not an optimal way to try to win the game, because if you're going for that and you miss, you just lose anyways. So they tried dragging out as long as they could there, but unfortunately not going to be enough for them.
Yeah, eventually you run out of resources, and then you kind of bite the dust. But thankfully, we're not going to have to go into a break, because we're going to hop right into the next game, as this time it's all up to St. Clair if they could take care of this Paladin.
Reverse sweep incoming, pause champ.
Absolutely.
We'll see if they can pull it off here. That's not a bad hand to start with, especially into a paladin. Now, looking at the paladin deck list that University of Michigan is bringing, as well as St. Clair's, they're both running. I'm not sure if I'm pronouncing this wrong, but they're both running Libram. I don't know how to pronounce it, but they're both running that deck list, that archetype for paladin there. So they can get some insane mid game value with it. Basically, they can play a bunch of cards that can discount basically the rest of their deck, or at least the part that matters, as well as get some insane value from those cards in the first place. So it's definitely a mid-range tempo-oriented deck that can scale really well into the late game here. So it's going to be interesting to see if St. Clair College can try to put them in lethal range before that all happens.
Yeah, your pronunciation is as good as mine I'll ever get in regards to that card. But we'll just have to see how that turns up. It feels like it's been a little bit since I've seen a paladin, but it sounds like this is getting at least a little bit more popular as of late.
Yeah, paladin's definitely fallen out of meta in the most recent couple of expansions here. I haven't really seen too much of it other than the deck list that we're seeing right now, only becoming a little bit more powerful now with the cards that it recently got in the newest expansion. And seen a little bit of Murloc Paladin as kind of like a target-oriented deck if you're trying to go for like an aggressive conquest thing going on there. But looks like St. Clair College here, they don't have too much to do this turn. You can either hero power or just play magic trick here, and that might not be a bad idea for them to try to see if they got some more intel going into next turn. Frostbolt's pretty good. I like the Frostbolt.
Yeah, it can't go wrong. Oh.
Frostbolt is basically... Oh, interesting. So Frostbolt is essentially better Icicle. Unless the target is already frozen, then you do one less damage than Frostbolt would do, but you end up drawing a card. So it's situationally better, but for St. Clair, they actually have a card that enables that card in their hand, which is Ray of Frost.
Yeah, I mean, it's already ready to line up, so might as well try and get the extra card out of the deal. Now, who do we have here? The Divine Shield, Death Rattle. Prime.
Okay. St. Clair has an option here. They could either hero power trade and do nothing this turn, or they can kind of go off here. So what I'm thinking that they do, they play the Sorcerer's Apprentice, right? They play the Ray of Frost to freeze the minion, right? They play the other Ray of Frost, or they can use Icicle to clear it off, or what they can do, they can play Devolving Missiles here, and then end up transforming that so it becomes useless. But it looks like they're going for the first option.
They're going to opt to get the extra card via the Icicle, and then they do have a draw for next turn.
Now, Devolving Missiles is a one-of card in their deck, and that actually would have been an out for them last game. So that's something I overlooked. They could have drew that card, and if it hit the Questing Adventurer, it would have transformed it into a random 2-draw minion, which is a lot better than a 17/17.
Absolutely, but for your only, I guess, sort of silence to be based off of random, that scares the crap out of me.
Yeah, exactly. But unfortunately, it didn't matter. They ended up not drawing it anyway, so they didn't even get to take that RNG shot. But now it seems St. Clair College here, they're going to have an interesting turn for us. They don't actually have that much to do here. University of Michigan, they're going to have to get rid of that card. Otherwise, St. Clair gets added value with their draw on the next turn if they choose to play that spell on the right.
So they take this poor lab partner, take all his attack away, but it's not like he's really there for attacking anyway. Just there. He's just there to buff up the spells.
He only does 1 damage. That's not why they're doing that. They're trying. I think they're just playing the card just to try to get something on the board here. And the heck, a Leper Gnome. I haven't seen that card in a minute.
Oh my god, I have those on my deck because I'm a free-to-play scrub.
Yep, free-to-play package 101 Leper Gnome. And seems like St. Clair here, drawing the Mana Cyclone here. It's not a bad idea here for them to just play that Cram Session here and play the card as well, the Cram Session, to try to get even more value. And they're going to do it twice here. 4 mana, draw 4. Not bad.
Cramming it in even harder than your teacher just forgetting to flick the switch on a Blackboard assignment, am I right?
Yep, absolutely. And it looks like St. Clair here. They're gonna try to go off with that Mana Cyclone next turn here. They have a lot of potential here. They can play a lot of cheap spells here. I definitely think this is a game, or this is potentially a turn, where the Devolving Missiles wouldn't be a bad idea here. They want to try to play a bunch of stuff here, try to get Mana Cyclone online here and get a bunch of spells in their hand here, which they can do. So it's going to be interesting to see if they try to deal with it with the Devolving Missiles, or if they just try to stall with Ray of Frost here. And it looks like that's what they're contemplating right now, and that's going to end up getting rid of a lot here. So yeah, they're definitely going for that Mana Cyclone turn here for sure.
Okay, because yeah, I was just thinking to myself, why would I use that on that minion? But exactly like you were saying, of course, Mana Cyclone about to be dropped in. Let's see what they get because of it.
Spell, and those are not bad spells to get. They can get a lot of value out of Learn Draconic there, getting a 6/6 dragon for basically 1 mana whenever that comes out. Not to mention they ended up getting a Pyroblast for themselves, which isn't actually optimal because most of the time that's going to be a dead card.
Right.
However, it could give them the reach they need at the end. We'll see.
Yeah, oftentimes you see this kind of as a finishing blow, if anything. But yeah, it's not one of those cards that you would bring normally, that's for sure.
Yep, absolutely here. So it's going to be interesting to see what they do here. It seems like they're going to go off here. They're trying to get that Mana Giant as low as they can to try to get it discounted, because keep in mind that's going to stay as an 8/8, but every time they play a spell that didn't start in the deck, it's going to get discounted even more, and it looks like that's what they're going to try to do here. So they're dropping Wand Maker here. Let's see what spells they get. What spell they end up getting? Arcane Missile, so they can actually play that this turn if they want to. And if RNG is good enough, they might end up, if they can hit 3 or 4 on that, which is unlikely statistically, but it is possible. So let's see what happens here.
We've seen crazier things.
Can they hit?
Oh, right in the face.
That is probably the least optimal outcome for St. Clair College, but nonetheless, it's a little bit of poke damage to face, chunking down those minions a little bit, and they can end up trading into them for themselves later on.
I could focus in and take on or take out one of these creatures or something. Nah, let's just tickle everybody. Those Arcane Missiles doing what they please.
University of Michigan respecting the spell damage here on St. Clair College, knowing that basically their entire deck has synergy with spell damage, so they want to try to get rid of that, and that looks like that's exactly what they're going to do.
I do love a good study session.
So keep in mind here, while Michigan's doing this, they're actually running out of ammunition in their hand right now.
Down to 3. If they keep on going here, they're going to be down to 2 cards. Definitely hesitating as to what they want to do.
And these are those Librams that we were talking about earlier, and they're already discounted, so a little bit interesting here. I'm going to be interested to see what St. Clair does here. They might try to discover some spells here with their legendary spell in the middle there. See what they can get here. Wouldn't be a bad idea, considering that'll also discount Mana Cyclone in the process. So they're going for the Arcane Missiles first. So they want to get rid of as much as they can here, so they have as many options as they can for the fill your hand spell. And ooh, baby, we got some fun in this hand.
Absolutely. Of course, you mentioned Yogg Saron earlier. Of course, 10 mana, and they're going to actually opt for it, so we're going to have some fun in a little bit.
Yeah, that card is really interesting because it could obviously bite them in the butt, but at the same time, it could really, really help them if it's like a last resort kind of play. And it believe me, it can happen pretty easily. Conjurer's Calling, unfortunately, not going to hit the kind of minions that they wanted to. They wanted to try to get some really high cost or high statted minions, rather, for 8 mana, and they ended up hitting 2 5/5s that cost 8 mana instead of the 8/8 that they had before. So fortunately, they can. University of Michigan's going to be able to trade into that pretty easily here, but it is a buff nonetheless.
Yeah, one that's going to be traded out though, so at least that big taunt minion is out of here. But of course, they're just going to keep using that Libram just to constantly buff one thing at a time. Seem, and they very well might clear this up.
Yep. So essentially, those Librams are going to constantly go back to the Paladin's hand at the end of basically whenever the minion that they play it on dies. Unless St. Clair College were to do something to try to silence it. Otherwise, that's pretty much free value for University of Michigan, because those are going to cost 0.
Yep, and we've seen already the lack of silence in this Mage deck here from St. Clair. It's going to flood the board with a couple cheap minions, put the Libram on once again, and probably call it a turn.
That is some potential. It's all right. So this is a pretty straightforward turn for St. Clair. They're going to drop that. They're going to play Evocation here to try to fill up their hand with random Mage spells, and they're going to try to play 3 here. And they definitely do have enough. Devolving Missiles is huge.
Oh my!
That is absolutely huge. They need to play that right now because it goes away at the end of the turn, and that's exactly what they're going to do. That basically silences that minion. Not just silences it, but turns it into a Wisp, the worst thing in the game. And yeah. There goes that Libram.
I was just saying how St. Clair didn't have a way to silence. This game shoves my foot in my mouth constantly, but I love it.
Absolutely here, and it looks like they're going to try to clear off that Wisp as well with Arcane Missiles.
Okay.
Third one hits. Thankfully, they got a little bit screwed in the first one that they did that, but ended up helping them this time. And going into turn 10 here, it's going to be really interesting because they have the Conjurer's Calling here for next turn, plus whatever they draw. Otherwise, it's looking like a puzzle box turn for when they want to do that. On turn 10, that is.
Right.
Not turn 9. Yeah, University of Michigan, knowing that they have to get rid of that card.
Hey, I know that card.
Well, they got rid of one Libram, and look, honestly, that was really well played by University of Michigan. They're not playing both Librams on the minion in case of Devolving Missiles coming out here or Silence, because they could have lost both, but instead they still have one.
Yep, definitely wise play on their end. As greedy as you want to be and just buff a minion all the way as far as you can, it's good to be reserved.
They're getting so much value out of Pen Flinger this game. Absolutely absurd. How many times have they played those this game? VOD reviewers, rewind 5 minutes.
And they've managed to clean out all of those elementals. Of course, that dragon's still standing tall on the side of St. Clair, but they're chipping away.
It's a pretty obvious turn as to what they need to do here. They need to drop that 2-drop on the board. Probably ping off the 1/1 as well. Jam that 6/6 into the base here. They're gonna see what they get here with Conjurer's Calling, because they can still do this one more time here. And okay, not bad. It's a little bit of an upgrade. It could have been better, could have been worse, but not awful. The one on the right in particular is really good for St. Clair, but unfortunately the one on the left is just a 6-mana 4/4.
Yeah, because that was based off of Battle Cry, so it's not going to do anything.
They have something that sticks now, though. So they have the 3/4 with Reborn. So when that dies, it'll give them 3 life and respawn itself with 1 health per year. But oh boy, Murgurgle Prime is here. Summon the Murlocs.
Oh, give them Rush. This is going to hurt one way or another, and it's going to get buffed up as well. So let's see how this turns out.
So it's not awful for St. Clair here because they had that taunt. So they're going to have to trade into the taunt, even though they have Rush, but they had to... Looks like they're going to full clear anyway, so you get rid of most of the Divine Shields here. But St. Clair luckily has Puzzle Box, which is likely in 10 spells that they'll hit at least 1 board freeze or board clear. So hopefully they do that. Also, if that doesn't hit, they have Solarian Prime next turn. However, I think they need to go for the Puzzle Box here, as that gives them a much more likely odds of getting a board wipe specifically, 10 spells in general, as opposed to 5 random Mage spells. So It's going to be interesting to see what they decide to do here. I'd imagine they go for the puzzle box rather than pinging off the Divine Shield and then the Solarian Prime here. But yep, here it is. Here comes the puzzle box. 10 spells. Here we go.
Cheap.
That's a good start.
Oh.
That is a good target as well. Oh, boy.
Okay.
Oh, boy. Shiv misses the target, but that doesn't matter. Duel. All right. Pulling out minions. Mana Cycle coming out, taking out the Pyromancer. That's really good for St. Clair. They're not going to get the value out of the Mana Cyclone there, but they're going to end up taking away one of University of Michigan's only board clears there, as they needed that. They needed that to answer these Mana Cyclones here, and they're still removing stuff with the... Oh, fingers crossed. Oh, not what you want to see. 10 to the face, but they get another 8A. Absolutely absurd. Not to mention, they end up getting 6 as well. Okay, Dan, yes, they took 10 to the face there. That is absolutely worst case scenario with that Pyroblast, but guess what?
Worth?
We'll see. Because that Wild Pyromancer, comboed with Equality, is one of University of Michigan's literally only board clears in that entire deck.
Okay, so that getting traded out so quickly then, that's pretty solid.
They still have another Wild Pyromancer. Okay, so one to the...
One to the
didn't
one.
do anything at all. Yep. I'm really interested to see what they can do here. I've copied each spell you cast on friendly characters. Okay, so they just got a ton of Librams. Okay. Okay,
Super
I see how
sheep.
this deck works. Super sheep go. Yeah, of course they're picking the sheep to go for the memes, of course. It seems like University of Michigan. Not only is that an optimal play for them, but it also, kind of goes with the meme of the big sheep.
Oh my gosh.
I don't think they have to play a lot of cards really fast here because they're going to trade that in. They get all of the Librams back.
Right, they can do it again if they want to.
Oh, wait a second, Dan. That Murloc has Wind Fury.
Yep, that could be scary. Can he kill him?
I'm not sure. I haven't done the math as to how many they have in their hand here. But if that hit... Yeah, if that gets to 6/6, I'm pretty sure that's game. Because they have 4 more on board as well. Alright, so the rope is over. They already acted. They typed well played. We'll see if it's BM or as if they actually got it in time. And it looks like that they got it.
They're going to spin this around, and they're going to be able to clean it out. Holy smokes.
It looked so good for St. Clair College with that puzzle box of Yogg Saron, but unfortunately, University of Michigan, they had the right cards at the right time, and that was not the first time that we saw that tonight.
That's like almost best case scenario once again. Like, yes, they had the random spells come out, but one of those spells targeting, getting Wind Fury, it's just a little 1/1 minion. Doesn't look that harmful. Buff, 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 and just go. And they had enough extra minions in the back to supplement the finisher in that one. So heartbreaker here for St. Clair, as that's going to be a 3-0 loss to University of Michigan.
Yeah, and honestly, if I'm St. Clair College here, I wouldn't take this loss too much to heart because compared to like what we saw on broadcast last time, you could tell St. Clair College that team was all on the same page for a lot. They were doing their turns very clean and not rushing before the rope. And I can't think of any specific errors that pop out of my mind tonight. I think that if I was still playing with them, that they would have did exactly what I would have done. And I think that they played really, really well. It's just unfortunately for them, they just got the short end of the stick this one, which is already a really big improvement compared to what we saw last time on broadcast. That being said, they did get a win off stream, which is also really good here, but now they're really going to have to try to pick it up here to try to finish off the rest of the season.
Yeah, of course, still early in the season, but of course now they are down one win, 2 losses in the varsity division. They're still going to be working for it. They still got plenty of matches, even if TESPA doesn't work out. I know OPSC is right around the corner. They had one match there earlier as well. I can't remember exactly how that went, however. But you'll still be seeing a lot from our Hearthstone team, and hopefully we can get them back on stream sometime soon when Wizard servers decide to run properly. But thankfully, we still got this one in. Whereas I want to thank you again for being the brains and helping me here on this commentary. Always a pleasure casting with you.
Yo, thank you for inviting me. Honestly, I have a blast every single time I'm on here, and thanks to you again. And we got some Rocket League coming up, don't we?
Yeah, that is true. This game did finish up quick enough to still warrant it through the delays. So give us about 50 minutes or so. 9:30 is the scheduled start time as we hop over to the schedule. I believe it is going to be up next. Yeah, sure enough, Rocket League. We're going to be doing in the NACE League. We're up against University of Central Missouri. I know Mizzou themselves was a strong team, but just a little bit, I guess, borderly to them, I would assume. We'll get to see how Central Missouri pulls off. Then tomorrow, of course, we do have Overwatch for UCEA. Rocket League returns on Thursday for some UCEA action as well. Then we hit the Rainbow Six Siege weekend doubleheader. Of course, Friday, CR6 action. Saints are still doing fantastic. Akron, unfortunately, gave them their first loss. I believe it was last week. It was a good match, but we got to see them rebound. And then we have a doubleheader on Saturday. Only the one match shows up there, but the Collegiate R6 from Face It, that's going to be, I believe that's Ubisoft's league, is going to be on Saturday at 3 p.m. Then 7 o'clock on Saturday, Call of Duty begins. So all teams functional for the most part here. Just need to get some Echo Arena action whenever that happens. But nonetheless, it's going to be a busy week. Are you excited for it?
Oh, I can't wait. I honestly like this. Like, not only do I love playing in these, but I also love watching them myself here. It gives me something to do on my second monitor while I'm doing schoolwork as well. So I'm definitely looking forward to it.
Absolutely. Now, that'll be it for us for now. We'll be throwing this stream to a close for a little bit, but give us about 15 minutes or so, and we will be right back with some NACE Rocket League action. Thank you all for tuning in, and of course, one final time, like always, thank you to the sponsors, everyone you see down below there. Of course, St. Clair College Alumni Association, Student Representative Council, PC Outlet, Zeckelman School of Business and Technology, and of course, Tim Hortons. Thank you all for making this happen. And once again, thank you everybody for watching, and we will see you in a couple minutes.